Yeah, I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me, you ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes, call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right, it's not enough. Even though you try, you still mess up. But I'm still gonna fight for what I love, still gonna die for what I love. Still gonna try, I won't give up. Still gonna fight until I've won. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret. Cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win, I won't stop till the end, no. Some injuries, mentally and physically. Studied them religiously so I don't repeat history. And people won't admit to me they don't want a victory bad enough to get a C. They'd rather just go leave it be. And oh, this journey I've been on since 13, working hard and learning, never stopping searching. Yeah, it's burning, all this passion hurts me. I took action working, writing down these words. No, I'm not okay, I just wanna be something. I don't wanna be nothing, living all alone. No, I'm not alright, I'm just barely getting by. But I'll tell you I'm just fine, so you leave me alone. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret. Cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win, I won't stop till the end, no.
All right. Hey, everyone. We are live, and I am super excited to be here today. Tonight, I guess I should say. But before we get started, I wanted to give a huge shout out to our Patreon followers, Warrior Bernard, Fighters Maxwell Foster Q, Soldier Boslow, and of course, Defender LG. Thank you so much to my Patreon followers and supporters, because you know, you guys are the reason I'm here, is creating content, and your guys' support, it just means so much. So let's go ahead and get started, giving a shout out to our Dying Breed family, our Legion family over with Legion Publishers. Thank you so much for joining in. And I am TJ Lombardi, the author of the Dying Breed series and Call Sign Bloodbath. But I am joined tonight by a special friend and guest, Tom Cox, who is the voice of the Dying Breed and helped bring it to life. Tom, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, TJ. This is such a blast. So just had a great time recording the books.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. And it's crazy to think, I was trying to think back, it's been about 20 years since we've actually seen one another.
Wow. Yeah, I feel old now. Thanks.
Well, it's crazy to me. Like, we did this whole project. We're now recording book 2. You know, book 3 is going to typesetters and stuff, and we're looking at February, maybe March launch of that. So we've been working on this book series together now, and we haven't even video chatted at all. It's been text message or
Yep. That's crazy, isn't it?
yeah, especially in 2023 timeframe. But it's been a great fun adventure. So yeah, we're here to talk about it, and we'll go over to the chat where, of course, we have another awesome individual, Joe Dan, saying hey. Joe Dan is actually going to be our voice actor for my second series. So he's coming in. He may have some narrator questions for you. Christopher Nichols coming in. What's up, Tom? How are you?
That's a buddy of mine. Yeah, he's come along. Hey, Chris, what's happening, dude?
That's awesome. And you guys are twinning. Absolutely.
Yes.
We've got the Golgot Skulls. So, and Wolfie's coming in. Also love listening to the audio. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Wolfie. All right, so let's go ahead and let's dive into this. I mean, we've just said we have not physically seen each other in 20 years, but I really love getting to know, the authors or the people that come onto the show. What's their story? So, what's your story, Tom? Where did you grow up? What were some of the things that inspired you as a kid, and how did this lead you to the career that you have today?
Oh, goodness gracious. I grew up in Michigan, Southwest Michigan, little town called Kalamazoo. I believe there was a song about it at one time. So about 13, 14 years old, I decided to get into theater. My dad had done it when he was a kid. My sister had done it. I lied about my age to get into the theater and just fell in love with performing and acting. Fast forward several years, I had an opportunity to do a training video for a local company. And they said, hey, man, come down to the recording studio. We'll let you do a couple of voices, play around a little bit, and we'll pay you money for it. And I went, what? We can do that? And just had a blast. That was a guy by the name of Jim Cummings. He's still got a recording studio at Soundstage One. Fantastic dude. He does music primarily now, but great band, great guy. About that time, I was starting to do a lot of just commercial work, 30-second commercials, 60-second commercials, car dealerships, banks, that kind of stuff. And then the radio stations realized, hey, you know what? We've got on-air talent that we can have do this stuff for free. We don't have to pay actors, and the work kind of dried up. Fast forward a few more years, and things like Voices 123 come on, and Voice.com, and internet becomes more and more prevalent, and I start throwing my name back out there. And sure enough, we got involved in a couple of projects. There was a production company for some guys that I worked with, Three Twins. They did some online comic books. They needed some voices. Had a lot of fun with that. And well, I just kind of stuck with it, sank in the money, bought some equipment for the house here, and here we are.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Now this isn't your full-time career and job. You actually, do this, what I guess we would call moonlighting, where you go to one career and then you do this on the side. So, was this something that you always really wanted to do, but you just, didn't have that income? How did you split between those two, but you always maintain this passion?
I thought for a while there I was going to be a professional actor, got involved in some professional dinner theater equity kind of stuff. And it was great fun. But as I moved, that was down in Florida. I moved from Florida back to Michigan. And it just wasn't the kind of income that I was looking for. So I had a wife, we had some kids, and, had to make some decisions about what could provide for the family. So I fell into sales, sold a lot of stuff. Right now I'm managing a car dealership in the area. But this type of work never left my soul, so to speak. I've always had a passion for it. And as opportunities came along to do this and get paid for it, I thought, well, that's great. So right now we're kind of doing this on the side. If it turns into something more, then, thank you. And I'll take it, but I'm just having fun doing this now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Joe Dan, I see your question, but we'll get to it here in a little bit. So, with voice acting, we see it a lot, especially in the lit RPG genre, some fantasy genres where, you try to really bring characters to life. You try to give them their own specific voices. Was there anything that inspired you as a kid that you really got to play around with, and that you sometimes reflect back or draw on when you're trying to come up with other voices for these characters?
Oh, cartoons, 100%. Cartoons, man. Saturday morning cartoons. I always wanted to be Mel Blanc. Never could get it. I've discovered that I am not an impressionist, so
Okay.
I can't really match that. But I had a lot of fun coming up with just different voices and goofing around and playing around. Was a huge D&D fan when I was a kid. Yep, I was one of those nerds. But I loved it. I still love it to this day. Don't get to play very often, but this kind of lit RPG thing is like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I get to live out my dream. Woo! I was super excited about it.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why the genre is so popular and big, is because, we're at this point in life where everyone's busy, no one's schedule lines up. And so instead we can go to this genre, and it's very similar to as if you're playing the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly right.
Okay. So now when it comes into the dying breed hunters, following up on that question, that it just came to my mind, a lot of these characters were very dynamic. How did you approach the development of their voices?
So I've done a few books now, and that's hilarious. Nice. What we could call me anytime, man. We can work on it. So the books that I've had it's one of those things. Reading is a fantastic hobby, right? Because as you read a book, you create these pictures, these visions, and you create these characters in your mind, and you kind of get a feel for where they go. And those voices just kind of pick up from experiences, movies that you've seen, cartoons that you've seen, anything that happens in your life, this reminds me of so-and-so. And that is kind of where it's at. So one of the things that I always did with the other books is, as I'm reading the book, I start making a picture of somebody or something that particular character reminds me of. And similar to the storyboards you got behind you, I got pictures on the wall, right, of all these characters, and I go, okay, this is that guy, this is that guy. Because as you're reading the story, and we can go into this in a little bit, it's very easy to end one chapter at Camp Patton, crap ton of characters in there, right? Then you go to the next chapter and there's like 3 characters, and then you go back to the next chapter after that, and suddenly these characters from 2 chapters ago come back, and you go, oh crap, how did I do that voice? What was I doing? Oh no, wait, no, that's not it. And the pictures help. And I happen to be working with an author. I'm going to brag you a little bit here, buddy. When TJ sent me the information packet, he had a whole list of all the characters, his sort of inspiration for each one, of where he wanted to see the character go. And I can't tell you how helpful that was. Some of the guys and gals in there, I thought, well, I'm never going to do that voice, but it gave me a direction to go. And you've been so collaborative with me. I'd send you a couple of takes here and there, and you'd be like, yeah, no, that's kind of what I want, but can you do it a little more like this? Or you'd be like, no, dude, spot on. Cod Garrick was perfect. Although for the entire first book, I pronounced it Codgrick. So I don't know if we're going to be able to keep that, or we're going to have to change that. You guys are the audience.
It's now minted to where whatever you go with an audiobook, and that's what it is.
That's it for life.
Yeah, like literally. And I guess we can transition into this. The pronunciations,
right?
And I didn't realize at the time, like, I made a listing in the back of the book where it's like, here's how the pronunciations are spelled out. Right. I then did the audio recordings of like this and put them on my website for readers. And even that, it's just like, I've been saying Codgrick for 3 years now. To then expect one person to just read the book and know, like, oh yeah, that's how you say it. It's, you
right.
Sometimes have to give liberties. So.
Right. Well, and you were fantastic to work with because I was mortified when it first went out, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry I made it. And you're like, no, man, it's all good. And just working with you has just been a dream, dude. I really appreciate it. And Jodan, yes, I did accidentally misrecord characters several times and have to go back and record them. Absolutely, more than one time. So it's just part of the gig, man.
I think that was another lesson for me, right? And book one is so hard. Like the more you write, the harder it is for you to go back and read your own stuff because you're like, oh,
Right.
oh, I hate it. I don't want it. I don't like it. And there was some of those parts where, like we said, there's a huge cast in this book
Right.
of really deep characters, and I feel so bad sometimes.
Right.
And even with the way I wrote it, because one of the struggles I had as a young writer, there's like 8 characters in this scene. How do I keep them alive? How do I keep them engaging so it's natural? And I didn't even think of how hard it would be for a voice actor to have to remember all this stuff.
That's why we do this, man. I mean, it's the challenge. It's part of what's fun about it. You know, the question can go back to you. How do you keep the same writers have a voice for each character as well? You know, did you ever get to a point where you're like, oh man, how was this character's voice in your head as you were writing? Was it easier or more difficult to keep the same tenor of the character as you went through the book?
That is a great question. I would say I didn't give a lot of consideration to certain characters. And that was something I struggled with for the first 3 books. To me, the most important characters were Kodgarak and Golgoth.
Right.
You know, was making sure that we got those right, because to me, when I wrote the story and developed it, they were so pivotal to what I wanted to do in the long-term goal. But there are some other side characters to where I never considered. I was like, well, what's this character's motivation? What's their emotional connection to all this? How would they? I don't know. Here we go. We're just going to go into this battle. Doesn't matter. You're along for the trip anyways.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Okay, so knowing he'll give you yes or yeah, but feedback is awesome. I had to do a whispering female and it would sound great recording, but listening later, it was deep and husky. Re-record. I don't know, Jodan.
Absolutely.
I thought you nailed the whisper, unless you're talking the first and second versions. The last version I listened to, I thought was awesome, but
You just got to own it, man. As you're doing it, at some point you just go, okay, this is who it is. And if you're working with an author that, you know, like you, that we had pretty constant feedback throughout, it's super easy. I did a couple other books through a different platform, and I never really got to talk to the author. All it was a brief description in the platform, and they said, you know, you need to have the first 6 chapters done by this time, recorded and sent in, and you know, they check for levels to make sure it's going to be publishable, and that's it, and you don't get any feedback. And that was always hard. A couple of these books were series, and you know, I thought, oh cool, I'm going to get this whole series. And you know, you do the first book and then you don't hear anything, and you don't hear anything, and suddenly the second audiobook gets published, and guess what, it wasn't me. And I go, okay, must not have liked what I did. But you know, again, that's kind of part of the gig that we all sign up for when we do this. As an actor, it's easy to get into your own head and go, oh my gosh, they hated me, they did this, they did that. And you have to kind of get over that and listen, man, it's not you, it's just whatever the director, the producer, the author's vision was. They like you, it just wasn't what they were thinking of for their character. And you can't take that personally.
That's such a, you know, gosh, I guess I never really took time to think about it that way. and I know there's times where, even as an author, you know, there are times when reviews will be more personal based than material based. And it's like, well, dude, this is a person on the other side of this too, man. Like, I'm just trying to produce a good book. Sorry you didn't like it. But even as a voice actor now, kind of like that, where it's like, hey, I would love to have feedback.
Right.
You know, what do I need to do better on? And if you don't have someone who's going to communicate with that to you, I can definitely see how that's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we got here? Did you do your own mastering and mixing? Well, kind of tough. So if you don't mind, I'm going to run back to some of these. How did you set up your own studio and what recording software and kind of work into that? So I started out with some pretty crappy equipment, computer microphone, and then I got some cheap little thing that I picked up at Walmart at one time, and finally ended up, my current setup is a Rode NT1 and a A1A or AI1 amplifier for it. I run it through my Mac, and I use Audacity for recording. The next investment that I'm going to make would be a different recording software. Audacity is great because it's free. I do have a lot of flexibility with it. So as far as the recording, what I generally do is I record the chapters. I will record the entire chapter. I'll just read it, and as I'm recording, if I screw up, I've done it long enough now that I can pause, drop back 10 seconds or a paragraph or two, re-record it, and keep going. I have evolved a little bit during the time because as you're listening, you kind of listen, and then suddenly you got 3 minutes of a 30-second clip that you've done, 6 times. Then you're like, okay, which one of these do I like best? Which one flows the best? And you sort of highlight the ones you want, delete the other ones, and drop it out. And I edit as I go. And I know you and I had a conversation. You're like, hey, don't forget to put in a blooper reel if you can. I edit all that stuff out as I'm editing it. And I'm like, well, as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, man, how am I supposed to do this? Am I going to keep these? Am I going to put them in a different file just so I can do this? And I just went, nah, I'm not going to worry about it. So once I get done with that, Audacity has some great tools to kind of level everything out, remove noise. You set it to the room noise, all of that. It gets all done. And then they've got a ACX check or audible check where you can take the entire chapter, run it through that, and it tells you, is this going to pass ACX or audible standards? And I did that for every chapter we did, but not all of them matched up right. Everything that I sent to TJ was fine on my system, but there was a couple of chapters that once TJ got it and he set it up, he goes, yeah, I had to change the levels on this a little bit.
It was just one, thankfully. It was just one.
It was. A lot of that is kind of mastered, but ultimately once you send it off to the audiobook publisher, they're going to run it through their magic machine and kind of even everything out to make it producible. So I wouldn't say that I did the master editing after the whole thing was done, but we did as much as we could ahead of time to make it easier for them. And what it take a week for the guys to come back and say, yep, we're all good to go and put it out?
It's it actually took longer. So when I upload to ACX, it's supposed to take up to 10 days.
Yeah.
What I at least appreciated about Amazon was we got into, I think we were about 5 or 6 days in without it being completed, and they emailed me just saying, hey, we're doing a massive book sale on Amazon right now, Audible sale. We're going to be delayed in getting to your book. But just know that we will do it. So it did take us a little bit longer, but we passed with flying colors, and now we have this awesome audiobook available for people.
Woohoo!
So going back to Jodan, he said, dude, we talked about that. And Jodan and I have as well. I think you and I have a little bit when we very first started was don't see a no as a not good enough, but more of I can't do this justice or this isn't right for us.
Right.
And granted, that's a great conversation to have up front, not maybe, hey, I did this one book and now this isn't a good fit for book 2. Moving on.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. I feel your pain though, dude. I've had projects like that where you get through it. There was one book that I did, and after I did the book, I was like, oh my gosh, I am never going to do another audiobook. It was way too much of a time commitment, and I just didn't like the way it ended up. But then you start getting the itch and you come back to it again, and every project's a little different. And, as long as you keep working with, your author, your publisher, whoever you're working with, dive right into it. If anybody out there is an aspiring voice artist, you want to get in touch with me, I think we can throw my contact information in here. I'm happy to talk with anybody. We can swap files, whatever you need. We're all one big happy family here, and, happy to help any way we can.
absolutely. That's awesome. And
How
Jodan
long does-
followed it up with just saying, my cold read has all the bloopers we will need for book 1. I think I even was like, come on, Jodan, get your head right once. I think you did have that in there. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, going down to Chris, he's got this great question. How long does it take to do a whole book?
Oof. Book 1, I think the total finished recording time was a little over 10 and a half hours.
Yep, 10 hours and 26 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, so just about 10 and a half hours. So that's final edited time. The recording of that is probably 20 hours, because you're just going through and you're getting bloopers here and there, and you may have to go back and do a section again. And then once you throw in the editing, times 3. Because you're listening back to the whole thing start to finish. So you've got all that time at least once. Then you've got to cut and paste and set all the levels and go back and get everything right. And you're going through bit by bit by bit. So it's not like a one long continuous listen. And then once you're done with that, you get to listen to it again to make sure that what you think is all finished is all finished. And there was a couple of chapters in there that I did, and as I've always got the book next to me, right? So TJ sends out the book, and as I'm listening to myself, I'm following along in the book, in the script, and there was one where I missed like half a chapter. I don't know how it happened. I might have stopped at one point, go let the dog out to go to the bathroom or something, and then you come back and the wind had blown, and you're just like, okay, where was I? I must have been here. And you read it, and then you go, oh crap, I just missed something. So then you got to go back and do that again. So it's whatever the book length is, probably times 3. So a 10 and a half hour book is probably somewhere between 30 and 35 hours.
That's funny because Jodan, that's exactly what he put in there as well.
Yep.
So now, granted, I think it's a great thing for us to talk about, because one of the biggest things that we sometimes get as authors is, when's the next book? When's the next book? And what's really funny, I was talking to one of my fans. I won't say who it is, but they said, dude, I love the book, the audio book. Tell Tommy did an amazing job. But when is book 2 going to be coming out? So, you had a life situation, a transition that kind of did some delays, but would you mind sharing with us the story?
Sure. So I got a day job. I work in the car industry. I work, 3 days a week until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. A couple other days a week until 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I work Saturdays too. So anytime I record, it's okay. I got home at 9:30. I grab a quick bite to eat. 10 o'clock, you start recording and record until midnight or 1 o'clock. And then you're just dog tired. You go to bed and you come back. I always tried to get at least a full chapter done, but some of the chapters that TJ writes are really long. So they took me a couple of days. And in the midst of all this, we're carrying along, and TJ's talking to me, and he's like, hey, man, how you coming along? Oh, it's great. I'm going to have this chapter to you on this day, this chapter on that day. My lease ran out, so I had to move. And okay, not a big deal. We pack up everything, we move, we come to the new place. And of course, I have to set up the desk downstairs, get the computer. Where'd I put the cables for this? How'd I do all that? And you set everything up, and then you realize as you start recording, hey, this room sounds completely different from the room that I was just in. And you start to panic. You get this little flutter in your heart about, oh my gosh, this is going to throw everything off. Please don't make me go back and do the first 15 chapters of this book again. Oh, Lord, help me. So I get everything set up. I start recording, and I press play, and I go to listen to it back, and I sound like I'm in a tin can. You hear, and I'm like, okay, hold on, think back. What happened? Last time that happened, my microphone was backward. Check the microphone. Nope, microphone's fine. All right, check this, check that. Nope, why do I get this echo in here? All right, I take these things, put them up all over the room here. Nope, that doesn't help. All right, next thing I do, I grab a bunch of moving blankets because, I've got moving blankets. I connect them to the desk, to the ladders, surround myself in a little cave, cover the top of it. I'm tacking them to the ceiling, covering the lights, trying to manage all this stuff. I'm spending 4 days trying to figure this out. I can't figure it out. It's driving me crazy. And I'm just about at the breaking point where I'm about ready to call TJ and go, dude, I don't know what's going on, but something screwed up. I don't know how I'm going to fix it. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, well, what haven't I checked? My amplifier. My amplifier plugs into the back of the computer. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, nah, it couldn't be that simple. I look at it again, I go, nah. And I go, well, maybe it is. There's a little USB cord, goes micro USB to USB, plugs in the back. And I had I don't even know if I still got it in here. Anyway, it was just this little flat banded cord that looped. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to change it. I changed the cord. It was exactly that simple. As soon as I changed the cord, boom, everything lit up, everything matched, the sound was right. And I'm like, oh, Lord, thank you very much. But yeah, it took me 4 days, 5 days to get through all that. And I was just going crazy, pulling my hair out, trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. And I, there was a lot of times I would have people ask me like, dude, what's the progress? What's the progress? And I'm like, you know what? I know Tom's working it, but he also has a life. And whenever he's done is whenever he's done. Me pestering him, it's not going to help anything. People are people. So
right. Well, and I actually, and I'll send it to you just in case anybody wants to hear. I actually had a whole apology recording that I made about that, just to put out there in case anybody wants to hear it from me personally about how sorry I was that it was taking so long and how much I appreciate the patience of everybody. Man, it's great. We're getting into book 2 now, and I got some kind of cold, and I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm coughing and I got phlegm. And Michelle, my wife, she looks at me the other day and goes, "You can't record like that." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because your voice is different." And I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, it's completely different. All the characters are going to sound different." And I'm like, "Oh man." So I'm working on that and trying to get through that. But I promise you guys, I'm gonna get this thing done as fast as I can. And I love all you guys for just having the patience to work through it with us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like Joda in here what he said. And of course, whenever you nail a tough part, your 2-year-old is doing sprints across the floor upstairs, and it somehow picks up.
Oh yeah, the microphones pick up everything, right? I think I told TJ about this earlier. Best day for me to record, right? Because I work 6 days a week is Sunday. Okay, guess what everybody does on Sunday in the afternoon? They mow their lawn. Guess what my microphone picks up? Lawnmowers. So I record an entire chapter. I spend an hour or so doing this chapter, and I start listening to it, and I'm sitting there going, what's that sound? What is that? Hold on. And I realize that it's somebody mowing the lawn. And you go, oh, crap. So you scrap it, and you start again because you're like, okay, look, it's dinner time. Everybody's inside. We're not going to have any noise. And you start recording again, and then the neighborhood lets their kids out, and they're all screaming like banshees out there. Somebody starts up a lawnmower again, and you're just like, oh, I don't have a soundproof studio here. And most of us independent voice artists don't. So it's challenging sometimes when you run into stuff like that. But you just take it with a grain of salt and move ahead, press forward, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jody, at 500 hours, not counting white space time for a draft, half to double that for edits, and 30 hours recording per 100,000 words.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jody, and he's like, I'm nervous I'm hearing that story, Tom.
Sorry.
But yeah, you got a great voice, man. Just pick a heavier one off character and do all his lines when you're sick.
Everything we do for Cod Garrick will be done now.
Yes. Yes. I cannot hear my daughter's little blow dryer in my room, but my mic can, and it sounds like she's doing it right beside the mic. I literally don't know if she's blow drying her hair until I listen to the recording.
Absolutely true. There's a ton of stuff that you don't even know is happening as you're reading it, that when you play it back, you go, what the hell is that? And just noises from everywhere. And, you go upstairs or you go to the next room and you're like, hey, can you turn it down or can you be quiet? And they're like, oh, you could hear that? Oh, yeah. The microphone hears everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And even my good friend, Lucas, who's been the development editor for us, noise cancellation is so hard. Scrubbing a room for sounds is never ending battle.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the tricks, at least with Audacity and that helps a lot. And obviously it doesn't scrub it to clean, but I leave probably 15-20 seconds of blank space at the beginning of a track when I start recording it. And the Audacity program that I use has a noise reduction tool. And what you'll do is I'll take that 30 seconds and I can set that as a noise level. So whatever noise is in the background, if the furnace, if it's electrical, if it's fan noise from your computer, it can kind of set that as a baseline. And then you can apply it to the whole track and drop out everything below that point.
Okay.
Which helps a lot. Obviously, it doesn't get rid of everything. If there's some random noises, the dog starts barking, the kid starts running, that hurts. But there are things like that help. The other thing that I found, the little mechanical dog clickers, that people use to train their dogs, they go click, click, click. As I'm recording, I don't have a dog clicker, but I will have a noise reduction or a snap of my fingers. If I screw up, I'll do a little pop or I'll click something because the mic picks it all up and it appears as a spike in the recording. So I know when I had an accident here and I start recording again here, I can quickly look at a track and go, okay, there's the 3 parts that I need to go review to edit to see which one I like the best. And that saves a crap ton of time during editing.
Okay. So now you were talking about using Audacity, but you are looking at the next investment. What exactly are you planning to go with as far as software? I want to say it's called DAW.
I had looked at that one. I'm not sure yet. There's 3 or 4 out there that I want to look at and I want to play with. A couple of them have some free trials that you can use to kind of play with it. I really don't have any complaints about Audacity, but some of the forums that I'm in with other voice actors, they say there are some other programs that work better. The character of who is it? Kashmir.
Yeah.
His character, because a lot of these characters are so close, you have Kashmir's sounds like a lot of other characters. So I had to use a little digital trickery to kind of raise the pitch on his voice a little bit and get it to a place that worked. And some of the programs are a little better at that than this one. I still love the character and I think it's great. And the voice is good. But I think there's probably better ways to do that. The only character I couldn't nail in the whole book was Marduk. He gave me a Wesley Snipes character, and as I started working on it, I sounded more like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder than I did Wesley Snipes. And I was like, well, that's probably not going to go really well. This some cancel culture coming my way. So I got a buddy that I work with and I say, hey man, listen, I need you to come help me out. And this guy is he is so smooth. And I said, Kevin, you got to come help me. And he's like, okay, man, I'll come help. And he is super excited, and he's excited about book 2. And I said, dude, you got some pretty good scenes in this book, man. You may even have a sex scene. He started blushing. He goes, what? I said, no, man, it'll be all right. But sometimes you just got to know, like Jodan was saying, at some point you go, I can't do this character. I just can't do it. So what do you do to fix it? And I talked to TJ, and TJ's like, I don't care, as long as he can do every book, go ahead. So we just made it work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, Jodan is a Reaper fan, so he's been using Reaper.
There you go.
Yeah, but like you said, it's annoying to learn, but the skill ceiling is bigly.
Bigly.
It's bigly.
What is that?
I don't know. He's from Pennsylvania, so it's a. Is it
Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania, Jodan, or is it Atlanta, Georgia? No, not Georgia. Where are you from, Jodan? Again, I forget. But of course, he is just a dude.
There you go.
Yeah. God, where were we going with this? I totally forget. We were gonna go somewhere with this. Oh, okay. So what was some of the hardest parts of approaching this manuscript? And have you Georgia? There you go. It's a huge. Yeah. Okay. Bigly.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. When you go down to Georgia, you get bigly and shit. Okay. We see you, Jodan. Having gone through Hunters, have you changed your approach to manuscripts, or was there anything about your process that you're like, okay, I want to do this different for book 2 or books in the future?
I'm pretty comfortable with the process. So the first thing I did, we went down to New Orleans a few weeks ago for my youngest son's 21st birthday. And on the plane, I read the book. So I always like to read the book first, just so that I can get a feel for where the characters are going, how that tension or character is going to build or diminish during the story, and kind of get a feel for all of that. So from an acting standpoint, I want to know that character's path during the book. From a recording and editing standpoint, I'm pretty comfortable. I do a chapter at a time. Like I said, I'll get the script out. I'll record everything, one chapter, start to finish. And then I like to go back and edit that chapter and get it all tuned in and then send it out. Now, there are times that you get behind schedule, like with the last book, and suddenly instead of doing one chapter, I'll record 6 chapters or 7 chapters. I just record, and then go back and edit. The problem with that is if you record too many chapters, what I found, if I record and edit and record and edit, and I send you 4 chapters, and you send me comments back that go, hey, that's all great, but the second chapter you sent me, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. Thankfully, you never sent me any of those messages, but it's a very distinct possibility that now suddenly I got to go back and then get back to the other end. Mm-hmm. So I generally do 1 to 2 chapters at a time. I'll record it, I'll edit it, send it off, work on the next one, record it, edit it, send it off. And that seems to work best for me.
Well, it makes sense for your schedule because you are doing this, as a part-time gig, as a part-time passion. Whereas I know some voice actors, they basically said, hey, tell me what part of the book you want a 5-minute preview for voices and everything else. Give me the notes. And then from there, it's off to the races and you'll get a finished product.
Right.
So the fact that you do that, I think that's a great way to make sure, like, hey, was there anything I need to re-hit or redo? But
right. And really it kind of depends on who you're working with. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, the couple of other books that I did, they wanted the whole book done, published, sent to them. I didn't get any feedback until it was all done. And then it was just kind of a thank you email, or, they didn't call you again. Other times you end up with somebody who's active like you and is engaged in the process, and hey, happy to give you feedback along the way. So I think Joanne says, were there any editing requests from you for the recording? Like from me to TJ, hey, can I edit it this way? Or from TJ going, hey, can you change that and make it? Are you talking?
Well, we could go both ways, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything that I asked you, do you mind if I do this, other than when I brought Kevin in for Marduk, I said, hey, is this going to be a problem? And you were pretty amenable to that. So I didn't think, bye. Thanks for coming. Hope you find your dad. Oh, sorry. We might have just watched Elf. Bye, buddy. So yeah, I think TJ gave me a few points and tips from him. From me to him to make it roll smoother. No, I don't. Not that I remember. Do you remember me giving you anything like that? Said if I do it this way, I think it's going to be better.
No, I don't remember you ever doing that, but it makes sense because my process now is obviously a lot different from book one, right? Because I've grown in some ways. When I was writing book one, I didn't really think about a lot of things such as like pronunciations, flow, and pacing in certain things, whereas I try to be more mindful of that now in more recent books. So, yeah, I think Kevin was the biggest thing, and other than that, I had gotten to that point where I was like, I need to give you some liberties to take some ownership of this process, and if you're gonna make changes for my original thing, dude, just let it go, man. We're building this story together. When it gets to an audiobook, you're helping build and create it just as much as I am to a certain point.
Right.
That's the way I look at it.
And I have worked with authors in the past where I have done that. When you're working in the independent publishing scene, some of the authors, they're learning too as they go along, right? And sometimes it's a delicate balance for me to say to an author, hey, you know what, if you change it this way, I think it's going to flow better, because they've got their own editors and publishers and people that they talk to that are already giving them that feedback.
Yeah.
But you got to be gentle when you do it. But TJ's fantastic to work with, and the book just was smooth and rolled, and great writing, dude. Great writing. I couldn't have asked for anything better. So it was just such a joy to do the project. Chris, I think you're asking about character direction. Yeah, hold on just a second. Okay.
I was really curious with where you were going with that. I was like, oh shit, like, is everything okay?
Book one. So can I share some of the stuff you put in here, TJ?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
This is the behind the scenes that I don't think a lot of people ever really get to see. So
this is the so there you go. TJ sent me some samples and said, hey, can you record some of these voices? Yeah, sure. This is what I'm thinking. So this was some of the feedback. I had a couple of characters, and the first one was Ibeck. He said, very nice. Crow, he said, I like the slight variation better. I gave him a couple of different takes on it. Dather, very nice. Codgaric, spot on. Farah, I got a little kooky with that one. He goes, I'd say maybe turn down the playfulness a little bit on that. Kind of at a level 25, maybe turn it down to a 23, 22. So most of it was really good. That he gave me a lot of good notes on that. But the reason is because when he does this, he gives me this kind of stuff. So Everybody see that?
Yep.
So Codrick, he gives me the character description over here, Chris. He gives me a little picture of James Earl Jones there. He says, this is kind of what I want. And I had documents like that for 90% of the characters. The ones that I didn't get documents like that for were more small bit parts. And he's like, just do what you want to do. But that really helps. And I think I talked about it a little earlier. I don't know if you were on at the time, Chris, but generally when I'm doing a book, I'll put up little storyboards with who I envision a character to be, just so as I'm reading, I can kind of look at the picture and it jogs my memory as to what voice I used when and how that character was going. But TJ did all the hard work for me. All I had to do was read a book.
And I haven't done that for book 2. So no one or any other book since then, because that was a lot of work also.
Oh, I know. But that's all right. I think I got a pretty good idea on book 2 so far. So
that's actually a great thing, though. I did all of that work at the very beginning because I needed my voice actor to know exactly what I was trying to do. But the other thing too was those actors or people, that was the voice I was hearing as I wrote.
Right.
And as an author, you have the story in your head and you're trying to write. And I think it's very easy for young writers to get lost in, where when you're reading, you're like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Well, they're fighting the dragon. Are they? Where exactly are they again? Well, they're in this cave. Okay, and you just had them like do this in a cave. How exactly does a rainstorm happen in a cave right now, bro? Well, it happened. Okay, well, you need to describe it. You need to tell it, right? So there's certain things where it's like, how do I describe exactly some of these things? And I was like, you know what? Just get a picture. It's James Earl Jones. If you can nail it, then great. And I think, I didn't know if you'd seen the show Vikings to know Floki's.
I did. I love Floki.
Yeah.
Floki, it's such an awesome character. And he was one of my favorite parts of that.
Yeah. And so I think when I started to get into book 2 and knowing from the image of the book where you're at, that's where like Cashmez's character really started to come to life in my head of like, he needs to be playful in this way. The way that I've seen this movie character, man, that's such a great playful way. And that's really the bond that's going on with this and this.
Right.
Okay, that's the voice I now need to adapt more for the rest to separate his relationship.
Right. And I got to tell you, as the brothers, right, you got Cashmez and Dather, there were several times that I'd get into it and I'd forget which one was which.
Yeah.
And I'd read an entire chapter as the wrong character and go, oh man. And there's some awesome challenges in this, right? So we've got the Codrick character who's the James Earl Jones, and then you've got Dather, who is more of a Dennis Hayworth. So you're like, okay, they're really, really close. How do I make these distinctive? So I started thinking Allstate commercials in my head every time I saw Dather. I'm seeing Dennis Hayworth with his hands out going, "You're in good hands with Allstate."
Yes.
And you're just like, okay, that's where we're at with that character. So
it was his Allstate commercials. That's what I thought about
right?
when I was like, this is the voice I need. Oh God, that's funny, dude. So like Jodan is saying, yeah, like no one wants to read a 43-word sentence because it never fails. I'm going to fat tongue or sharp tongue a word, and it's hard to chop some sentences and have it sound good. Exactly.
100%. So yeah, the best thing is if you screw up in a sentence, just finish the whole thing and then go back and redo it again. Pick yourself a clicker or something that breaks it. Make sure you put a second or two in there. And it makes it so much easier just to cut and paste and drop that in later.
Yeah. And, from a writing standpoint, I thought putting periods in places would slow the pacing down. And so I found myself, at least in a lot of my rough drafts, just having these run-on sentences forever and ever and ever. And then as I've gotten better, it's like, no, you can still have short sentences and keep the pacing. It's how you write. So,
right.
and of course, pictures for characters are as smart. And don't worry, Jodan, I'll have some pictures for you for when you're doing the Bloodbath series. So your mistakes are going to.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if not, man, Jodan, just figure out who you picture as you're reading the book. What picture do you have? Go online, pick an image, lock it down, and print it and throw it up on a whiteboard or one of those science board cardboard things, or type them up on your wall, whatever you need to do, and just put in Sharpie big marker under there who the character is. Always gives you a reference point to go back to. So yeah. glad I'm helping. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Okay, so what was some of your favorite parts of book one to narrate and act?
Oh wow. Man, it's also good. I love the scenes with Codcrick. I love the character. I love his voice. I feel it at home and at one with him. So any scene that he's in, I'm happy with. There are a lot of this scene where they're going up the steps, up the mountain, and fighting the gargoyles, and that there's a lot of good action in there, but there's also a lot of that snarky humor that kind of kicks in as well. And I love the humor of the books as well. So anytime I can do that, I sometimes have to stop myself from laughing out loud as I'm reading it. But I hear it in my head. I speak sarcasm fluently, and there's quite a bit of sarcasm in these books, and it brings joy to my heart. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So I think Kyle has got a great question here that may lead into a question I just thought of. So was there researching done when it came to preparing yourself to read as a military type or a military flavor, I guess, maybe?
That's funny. So I don't have any military background myself. My son was in the military. My dad was in the military. I'm a huge fan of the genre, so I I picked that up. So in my head, I always wanted to be a badass, and to me, those that serve are eternal badasses in my mind. So if I can do any sense of honor to honor those that have decided to defend our country and our beliefs, man, I'm all in on that. So I have a soft spot for America.
Nice. Okay, so what do we got here, Jodan? TJ Snark is fun to read. Needless to say, we're gonna unlock a kill streak or two tonight, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of death and destruction in Jodan's series.
Nice. I can't wait to hear it.
So with from seeing the image on the screen, the Taker, and you've read through the book, how was your approach to some of that? Because I had some beta readers who were like, dude, you took my breath away. And
absolutely.
Even Lucas was like, dude, you put me right to the edge. And I was like, holy shit. And then you actually backed away and you did it respectfully. You did it this. So, and I remember talking to you about it like, hey, man, it's going to get dark. Are you okay with this? And you're like, yeah, no worries. So now that you've actually read it and you're preparing, how have you changed, or how have you dealt to ready the audience for what you're about to read for them?
100%, dude. It is continue to praise the writing. There's a lot of feelings in this book. It brings a lot of stuff out in you, and as you're reading it, and as I was reading it and contemplating how am I going to act this, I had a lot of anxiety, just because it's such a tough topic. But at the same time, it's a story that needs to be told. People need to know. And whether it's lit RPG or what's the movie that just came out, Sound of
Oh,
Freedom,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or whatever it was. I mean, this is all stuff that needs to get out there. You can't let these evil people hide in the dark. It's up to those of us that care to shine a light on that. And I only hope that I can do it justice. I'm sure there will be a change in the tenor as I get into that, and I'm going to do my best to kind of keep the energy level the same. But it just, yeah, I mean, I'm excited about getting into it and sharing the story and being able to bring this to light and bring this book to life as well.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's interesting is, I had finished book 1, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make this a multi-book series. And I was like, no, like, we're gonna get into it. And so I went down to visit my mom and dad. I finished book 1, and within a week or 2 weeks, I was writing book 2, and I wrote book 2 in basically 3 weeks while I was down there with my mom and dad.
Wow.
And I just knew, like, I want to talk about this. I want this to be a challenge and a facing. So I wrote book 2, then I got into book 3. Then I was challenged to write my second series, which Joe Dan is narrating. So I finished book 1 of that, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to go after human trafficking. So I wrote book 2, and it's bloody as hell because he's hunting down these human traffickers. I had no idea the movie Sound of Freedom was coming out.
Right. Wow.
And I actually have it here. It's still in the mailing packaging because I don't have a DVD player to watch it. But I bought the movie. I have not even watched the movie.
Oh, wow.
But that's where I was like, as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, hell yes, this is what it's about. Let's fucking go. So yeah, it's something that needs to be talked about more often for sure.
Oh, for sure. Did I approach TJ or did he approach me?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'll let you take that one. Go ahead. How did this happen?
Oh man. Okay. So how did this happen? This happened where 20 years ago, we used to joke around with Tom at church. Tom, you need to narrate books, dude. You've got this voice. Cause that's how Tom and I met, was at church. And, you would sing whenever we had church dramas, you would act, and we were very active, but that was always the running joke,
right?
And so I remember seeing, like, it was a couple of years ago when you were like, hell yeah, I'm doing this and that, but it wasn't like, it didn't seem really predominant. I didn't think much of it. So then as I started to do book 1, I really was like looking for these voice actors and stuff, and going to Voice 123, I think it is. And I had one person picked, Peter Wicks out of the UK. Sent him the sample. He sent back his audition tape, and it was great. And I was like, all right, dude, let's do this. And he's like, okay, I can't get to it until August of 2023. I was like, oh, wow. Shit. Okay. So, I mean, we're 10 months projected schedule.
Right.
So I was like, all right, dude, actually, I think we probably would have been closer to a year. But I said, okay, no worries. Cool. Good to go. And he's like, dude, I love it. This is awesome. I'm like really excited. So then it was, I think, just the end of December or January, somewhere in there, maybe even February, where I messaged him and said, hey, dude, I just want to check in. Are we good to go? Is everything still looking good? And he emails me back and he says, I am really sorry, TJ. I just need to back out of this deal. And it's not your story. It's not anything of you. It's the fact that I have so many other projects, video games, advertisements, training videos, that to take on the massive world that you've built would just be too taxing compared to all the other work. And I just though I would love to do it, I don't want to dedicate that much resources. So I'm just gonna have to back away. I was like, okay, well, and he was also gracious enough. He's like, hey, here are 3 other contacts that I have. I think they would do great. Reach out to them, see what they would be willing to do. I was like, okay. I did not reach out to those people. It was about 2 or 3 days later, as I'm sitting there like, shit, man, what am I going to do? You had posted on Facebook saying, hey, here's my like official voice acting website now, or my Facebook page, like whatever it was. And I was like, holy shit, why haven't I talked to Tom yet?
I know a guy.
I know this person. This would be
Yeah.
awesome. And I remember, I think you used to like playfully mimic or impersonate James Earl Jones style voice. And that's
Right.
where I was like, Podgarak's voice needs to be this voice. And you're the only person that's been able to come the closest to it. Like, I believe that you can hit this. Like, so let's go for it. And I messaged you, asked if you were interested. And that was also the nerve-wracking part was, I know we met at church and I know we have this thing, but this is not a church book. Are you going to be okay with it?
You all right with that? No, 100% in. I think there was a time in there, I'm trying to remember when it was. It was early in the year. I think you reached out to me at one point and said, hey, have you ever looked at Upwork or Fiverr or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a short little text or Facebook message that you sent me and said the opposite of a church, but yeah, buddy. But you were like, hey, I might have this project coming up. I might be able to use you. Would you be interested in doing something? And I said, yeah, man, anytime you need my help, just let me know. And then I didn't hear anything. And then suddenly you came back with the book. And I was like, yeah. So he sends me all the files of Peter doing his stuff. And I got dude's incredible, man. Yeah. I'm listening to that and I'm like, oh, wow, I don't know. Can I do that or can I not do that? So I'm sending him messages back going, dude, I don't know if I'm that guy, but here's what I got. You tell me if you like it. If you do, great. If not, I totally understand. And TJ was like, no, man, 100% in. I love it. I love what you're doing. So it was really was kind of a match made in the cyberverse or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, for sure. Jodan had said, TJ, you got a problem. You've had the same warning conversation with me. You get dark in every book. Yes. So that's where I guess grimdark, right? I'm just a grimdark writer. That's where I love to be so far. So yeah, eventually you won't have grimdark, I guess.
Oh no, don't stop being you, man. You keep doing it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Okay, so let's see here. I think those are all the main questions I have. So for anyone else who's watching, if you have any final questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. But I think you were going to do some like cold/warm reads for us from book 2.
Okay. All right.
Is that a go or no go?
Yeah, no, I'm all in. I don't. If you've got a section or a chapter you're kind of most interested in, let me know.
Oh man, where's my book? I don't even have one of my. Oh, it's in the closet. That's where my book is.
Pick a scene, any scene.
So you've read the whole book then?
I have. I've read the whole thing.
So
now, Kashmese, if you get me involved in a Kashmese conversation, just remember there's going to be no digital editing on that. So it's not going to be the same voice. Kashmese, before I edit him, sounds a lot like this as I'm just speaking now. So it's easy for me to record and then edit, but whatever you like.
I would probably say something of like Enter Hell, probably somewhere in there.
Okay. Okay. First chapter.
Oh, what? What did Jodan say? My goal with auditions is to do it really fast so they consider me first. Haha. Well, it worked, Jodan. It worked. You got the job.
It helps. Okay, so we'll start here. This is a couple pages in. See, move to so this is the spot where are they? We've got a little bit of Golgoth in here. We've got Liam in here, of course. We got a little bit of Kashmir in here. Yeah, we'll just jump right in. Liam asked as his head moved in all directions, taking it all in. Do we know what this place is, or was? Golgoth was crouching down in the center of the floor with his right hand outstretched, letting his fingertips run across it and feel the smooth but gritty texture. Mala, I believe this place is an abandoned sacrificial temple. The vast amount of soul and magical energy remaining deep inside its core would suggest as much. He let out a dark chuckle, as if he knew far too well what that looked like. Mala was on the far edge of the temple and began issuing orders to the others. Sneak, take the north and west area and scout for any potential threats. I will take the south and east. He turned to the next group. Golgoth, begin implanting runes as a shield around the site. We'll make a camp here for the night. Farah, secure us something to eat. Cash, you already know. Let's move. Liam walked over to Kashmir. So, I'm assuming I am to partner with you. You know, since your brother can't seem to communicate directly to me. The lion, who had been watching his brother's departure, turned towards Liam as he replied, Well, aren't we grateful to have additional time to train? Here I am, a warrior with more combat experience than 3 times your life, and you simply scoff at the opportunity to train. I am just flattered by your enthusiasm. Liam's heart pounded in his chest as he realized what a critical mistake he had made. Fuck, that isn't what I meant. Kashmir, that isn't what I meant. I'm sorry. The lion cut him off. Is it not? The lion let the pause add more stress to Liam. I suppose we'll just have to see about that. He leaned closer to add emphasis. You know, let your actions speak rather than your words. So, as you can see, as we're reading through that, my Kashmir's, it's been a minute since I've done it, so I kind of fell into a couple of different accents during that. So, it sometimes takes a minute or two to kind of get back into the characters, but that's basically the process.
That's awesome. And a good friend of ours, fellow author, Brian Norton, said, what a voice. So he absolutely loves it. And Jodan, haha, I need to grab the first book on Audible when I get another Audible credit. I love it. So
absolutely. Everybody get a copy of the book. Share it with your friends. Tell them to get them too. Come on.
So is it hard for you to really do Codgarak's voice? I mean, to be that low, or does it kind of come somewhat natural for you?
Not at all. Codgarak is a natural part of my simple development. I've been working on that voice for years.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. And I feel bad because you don't have any Codgarak in book 2.
I know. And I was so sad. I read the book and I'm like, what? Oh yeah, that's right. They went the other way. Hopefully book 3 is all on that side. You know.
You do have more Codgarak. Not a whole lot. You do have some more Dather. And then you are going to hate me.
Uh-oh.
You're going to hate me.
He's going to die, isn't he?
You will have half a book of dwarves, a dwarven nation, with the worst pronunciations of your life.
Yeah. Fuck you, man.
And here's the thing. I started writing book 3 and we started like getting together of like, yeah, you're gonna do the narration and everything, and I am just writing, like I am just going full author mode, creating all these unique names and nations and things. And then when you started to record the book and send me edits and stuff to review, I was like, oh fuck, he's gonna hate me. He's gonna hate me.
I'm just gonna make it up as I go. So the first chapter, 2 chapters, there's a lot of spells in there, and I think I sent you a message and said, dude, seriously, what? How am I supposed to pronounce this? And you're like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, man. In the future, it just becomes, and he said a spell. You're not going to have to worry about that. I tried some translators online, and I came up with these words that
fucked it up.
Yeah, 90% consonants and 2 vowels, and you're like, okay, I'm not sure how to do this. So I look forward to jumping back into that with our dwarven characters in the future. I take it's not going to be Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
Here's the great thing about it. Honestly, there's only one dwarf character that you need to worry about.
Okay.
As far as like capturing that, because you will, even my editor was like, there's no doubt this character is truly who came to life for you when you were writing. And I was like, yeah. And it was completely natural. I didn't plan for this character. It just happened. And he became such a force of nature that he is now in the other book. Like, everyone loves Drebin the Dreadful.
Drebin the Dreadful. Okay. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Who do we picture in our head when we hear Drebin the Dreadful? Are you going to let me pick that out?
I have no idea. So that's the thing.
Okay.
Like, you basically, Drebin is the only name we need to worry about.
Okay.
He lives on in other books to a certain point. Other than that, you can do whatever you want.
All right. Nice.
Once you read it, you'll understand. I'm like, oh, that's why it doesn't matter anymore.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
No, I could never hate you, man. Like I said, this is a awesome series, and I'm loving every minute of it, dude. I appreciate the opportunity, brother.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Chris is saying, dude, awesome job, and that's everyone's who have messaged me directly privately.
All dwarves to a southern dialect. Okay. All right.
Not more like him and get caught.
How southern you want this dialect, my man? We can make it as southern as you want.
Go ahead and pick up that hammer over there and go start smashing shit. Clayton Bigsby has the voice.
Oh, I'm gonna have to Google that. Who's Clayton Bigsby?
I don't know. So let's do that. Clayton Bigsby. It's one of Dave Chappelle's characters.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. We'll see if we can make it happen.
That's funny.
Like
That's
I said,
awesome.
not an impressionist, but I'll get as close as I can.
Yep. Okay. So with that being said, I know the final question that we joked about, but Nick Boslow, Soldier Boslow over in the UK, wants to know when can we exactly you haven't seen that skit, have you, Tom?
Nope, not yet, but now I really feel like I need to.
It's an experience. It's an experience. I think every military person has gone through that clip at some point. Okay, so God, where was I going with this? Oh, Nick Boslow, Soldier Boslow, did want to know when can he expect book 2 audiobook. So do you have anything?
I'm sorry,
on
I gotta go, man. What? No.
Yeah.
I would hope to have it done by the end of January. So if I can get it done any sooner, I will. But for my goals, that's where I'm trying to get to. I'm halfway through December, and 6 weeks seems fairly reasonable. I don't have any major moves or any technical difficulties that are foreseeable in the future. The only thing that's I'm kind of trying to kick right now is this chest thing that I got going on. I start going into coughing fits and everything. So I'm hoping this clears up soon. And when it does, we'll get back into it. This is a little bit of a shorter book than the first one.
It is.
So it shouldn't take as long. And, end of January is what I'm hoping for.
Nice. That's awesome. All right. So I'd love to connect Tom. This has been great fun. So yeah, you can expect Jodan's
all right.
Facebook stuff. Tom's voice actor Facebook page is linked in the video description.
Email is tomcoxvo@gmail.com. So, no, it's tom@tomcoxvo.com. That's what it is.
Okay, awesome. And then I just put the link in the chat, you guys, if you want to go put the audiobook down on your wish list, whatever you want. So, yeah, this has been us. I think we're all done. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions.
Much, everybody.
We greatly appreciate it. And Tom, you're awesome, my friend. Thank you so much for bringing this book to life.
You too, brother. We'll talk to everybody soon.
See you later, guys.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, I don't believe in destiny. I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me. You ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes. Call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right, it's not enough. Even though you try, you still mess up. But I'm still gonna fight for what I love. Still gonna die for what I love. Still gonna try, I won't give up. Still gonna fight until I've won. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left. And I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret. Cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win. I won't stop till the end, no. Some injuries, mentally and physically. Studied them religiously so I don't repeat history. And people won't admit to me they don't want a victory bad enough to get a C. They'd rather just go leave it be. And this journey I've been on since 13, working hard and learning, never stopping searching. Yeah, it's burning, all this passion hurts me. I took action working, writing down these words. No, I'm not okay, I just wanna be something. I don't wanna be nothing, living all alone. No, I'm not alright, I'm just barely getting by. But I'll tell you I'm just fine, so you leave me alone. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left. And I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret. Cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win. I won't stop till the